Well, I know one thing for certain. This is the most disturbing costume I've done on this channel so far. I mean, just look at it. It's scary. It's really fucking scary. But you know what? So is the concept of this freaking movie. Dogman is the newest film from DreamWorks Animation and is based off the popular kids book series by Dave Pilkey. And in this movie, we follow, well, Dogman, a half dog, half man who is sworn to protect and serve as he pursues the feline supervillain, Petey the cat. So yeah, it's very much a kid-friendly version of RoboCop. So when it comes to my knowledge of the Dogman book series, I don't think I've ever read one of the full books, but I know for sure I at least glimpsed at the first one. My brother used to be a fan of both this and Captain Underpants, so I at least have some knowledge of them and know that they exist. And speaking of which, I'm actually really surprised at how many people don't know that Dogman is both a book series and from the writer of Captain Underpants. And speaking of Captain Underpants, I'm actually going to give my quick thoughts on the 2017 movie before we get into Dogman because my thoughts on that movie is actually going to play a big factor into my thoughts on the Dogman movie, sort of. So when I saw it back in 2017, I remember really enjoying the hell out of it, but since Dogman was coming out soon and I wanted to compare the two, I decided to watch it again, and to my surprise, the film doesn't just hold up, but it's charming as all hell, really funny, fast-paced, beautifully animated, kind of insane, and it just had me smiling ear to ear through the entire 90-minute runtime, and it really did put me in a very good mood. And yeah, I was not at all expecting that from a kid's movie about a grown man being hypnotized into running around in his underwear playing superhero. Trust me when I say, this movie is really damn good as long as you accept it for what it is. It's definitely a movie aimed at kids, but it still has a lot of appeal, charm, and humor for adults. Yes, there's toilet humor, but the movie is actually really clever with it, and the movie is called Captain Underpants. What do you expect? I actually ended up writing a review for it over on my Letterboxd account, and if you go and read that review and come back and tell me that I should have done it as a full video review, I 100% agree because I had like way too much to say. So after being pleasantly surprised by the Captain Underpants movie, I got a little bit more excited for Dogman and was actually looking forward to checking it out. Okay, the trailer really didn't do much for me, but it's from DreamWorks, and while I wasn't expecting the next wild robot, I was at least expecting something cute. And while that is very much what I got, and I think kids will definitely have a great time seeing Dogman fight crime, being cute, if you have the mindset that I have, this is one of the darkest, most disturbing kids movies out there, and it's one where all logic is thrown right out the window. It's insane. So for those of you who never read the books or never saw the trailer for this movie, let me tell you how Dogman comes to be. So basically, yes, it is very much like RoboCop, where you have this cop and his dog who get injured in the line of duty, except how in RoboCop, where the cop's body was blown to smithereens, and this, the dog's body is injured while the cop's head is injured. And they establish in the first few minutes of the movie that the cop has like these great kung fu skills and all of that, and the dog is mostly the brains. And if you're thinking the dog's name is Brain like in Inspector Gadget, no, it's Greg. Oh boy, Greg. Whatever. So then, these two nurses, who are clearly baked as fuck, get the bright idea of cutting off the dog's head and stitching it to the man's body. And if you're thinking it's gonna look like that one scene from Mars Attacks, basically, honestly, I wish what happened is that they cut the dog's head off and made the cop wear it around like Leatherface or something. I am writing a much darker movie in my head right now, and the movie itself is not helping one bit. So now you're also probably wondering, is there a man dog? Is there just this man's head in a dog's body just walking around out there? No, there's not, which makes... Oh my god, I just realized that now means there's just some dead man's head rolling around in a trash can somewhere. This movie's dark. I love it for that. I love how dark this G-rated kids movie is. You can take every kids movie from the 80s, the darkest ones, Return to Oz, Secret of NIMH, Witches, which I know came out in like the early 90s, but that's an 80s movie. Where I'm going with this is that you can take all those movies, they're not as dark as the concept of Dogman. And my favorite part about all of this is that the two nurses never consented with either the officer or even the dog if they wanted this done, which makes me think that they did this baked as shit, and then the next morning they wake up and see this. Oh, my head. Sarah, where are you? Oh, there you are. Start some coffee. Let me turn on the news and see what happened last night.
This super cop made friends, solved crimes, and even plays piano for the old folks.
Sarah! Do you remember that pot-induced dream I told you about last night? Or at some point, I don't even fucking remember when. There was a cop and his dog, and the dog's body was injured, and the cop's head was injured. What the hell is that thing? Did we do that? Did we fucking do that? Sarah! What have we done? We created a mutant, and they're calling it Dog Man. What happened? Oh my god, we're gonna lose our jobs. We're going to jail. What have we done? It's Dog Man. There's a goddamn Dog Man. Where's the head? Where's the man's head? Is it? Oh my god. I'm gonna. This is Sarah. I mean, pack your shit. We gotta leave the country. We are not gonna be able to appeal this in court. Just, what have we done? Freaking Dog Man. But I guess I'll give the film credit for this. We never do get to know the cop or his dog before they become Dog Man, because everything I just said happens at the 5-minute mark before they even show the title. This movie is really fucked in the head, and I appreciate it for that. This is some Terrifier shit right here. But here's the thing that works about this entire insane, crazy concept. As I said, this is a movie where all logic is thrown straight out the window. The setting for Dog Man is a world that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, and is very much a cartoon world where basically anything can happen and you just don't question it. You know, unless you're me and you do question shit like this. Aside from the crazy little mutant that is Dog Man, no one seems to question why there's an evil talking cat running around with the voice of Pete Davidson. And also, apparently the only people committing crimes in the city are cats, because they literally have a cat-centric jail where, I'm not making this up, one of the cats is voiced by Young Gravy. What the hell is this freaking movie? I mean, I'm gonna be honest, this is the kind of shit I love to talk about on this channel. Movies that just go outside the box and are just so freaking insane. But while I do question it, this is a world that really works for me because it has all the goofy humor that I love in cartoons, including but not limited to the fact that everyone in the city seems to be looking for Petey the cat, this evil cat that everyone is looking for. They just cannot seem to find him. But his headquarters is not only this giant tall building, but has giant neon signs that say Petey Secret Lab. He's here, come and get him. And I just love that. I love that about this movie and this world. And it's just so funny how no one can seem to find this place. There's even a plot convenience building called the Living Spray Factory that brings dead and non-living things to life, and it comes back into play during one of the craziest climaxes I have seen since The Substance. Yes, I did just bring up The Substance in a review for a G-rated kids movie about a doggy cop. This is just the places my mind goes, people. Deal with it. And in some way, shape, or form, I guess it makes sense that I bring up The Substance because both movies involve mutant creatures. But again, it actually all does really work because in the end, all this is a 90-minute long cartoon. And that's part of the problem. Where Captain Underpants felt more like a movie and had story, characters, and a dilemma that needed to be fixed, Dogman doesn't really have much for a story or characters and is more focused on the humor and how crazy it can get. And while there are points where the film's humor and chaotic energy can get to be a little too much, it does make sense when you know the context from the books. Despite only glimpsing at the first book, the one thing that I do remember vividly was that Dogman was one of the comics created by the two boys from Captain Underpants, George and Harold. So when you know that going in, you realize that it's supposed to be more like if it was a movie made for kids by kids, but the one thing that the actual movie doesn't tell you is that this is the creation of two 5th graders. So if you don't know the origin of Dogman, you're kinda screwed. Aside from them not mentioning George and Harold's involvement, we also don't get to know the cop or the dog before they become Dogman. I already mentioned this earlier, but Dogman was created within the first 5 minutes of the movie before the title was even shown, and all we know about the cop is that he had a wife, and all we know about the dog is that he had a tennis ball. Yeah, that's all the prior knowledge you got of Dogman. So because of that, the pacing of the film can be very rushed, to the point where there's no major conflict of any kind until the very end. It also didn't help one bit that I decided to go watch this in RPX, and there is always something flying on screen, and the movie is so hyperactive to the point where it nearly gave me a headache. But the best way I can really describe this movie though is that, yes, it's obviously RoboCop, but it has a mixture of the Perry the Platypus and Dr. Doofenshmirtz scenes from Phineas and Ferb. A damn good half of the movie is just Petey the cat coming up with some new invention or plan to stop Dogman, and Dogman thwarts Petey and sends him to jail. That's it. And by the end of it, it really feels less like they had ideas for a Dogman movie and more ideas for like a TV show or some short films. Then again, I am pretty positive that it does stay true to the nature of the books and they're not that story driven. Speaking of the title character, let's talk about him for a minute, because despite the movie being called Dogman and the first few minutes being about Dogman, as the movie goes on, he's more pushed to the side for Pete Davidson's Petey, and I'm kind of okay with that. For the first half of it, I was enjoying myself fine and getting a few laughs, but it did get to be a little too much, and there wasn't much that really got me that invested, besides a few funny bits from Petey. But once they introduced Little Petey, a clone mistakenly created by Petey, that's where the movie started to pick up for me, and is where I think some of the best laughs come from. Anytime it was those two on screen, I was really enjoying the movie, and wanted to know where their story went because, well, they're the closest thing this movie had to a story for a while. At first, Petey wants nothing to do with Little Petey because he's expecting a fully formed clone and not a little child, and this then leads to Little Petey forming a connection with Dogman, which obviously pisses off Petey. I honestly really did find this to be the most engaging aspect of the movie, and the film surprisingly does start to become about a father-son relationship as it goes on. Also, anytime a movie has a scene where someone purposefully abandons a little creature, usually a puppy or a kitty, and you see them wandering the streets alone at night, that scene is always going to put me in the feels and make me go, oh. And that's exactly what happened here. So while I did enjoy the movie, and it definitely put me in a good mood like the Captain Underpants movie, I will say that it is definitely more of a movie targeted towards kids, but I mean that in the best way possible. While Captain Underpants was aimed at kids, but still had a lot of charm, humor, and appeal for adults, Dogman is definitely aimed at kids, but doesn't have much appeal for adults, aside from one or two jokes here and there. But I think that was the intention, because the movie knows its target audience and what they want to see. Again, the movie doesn't really give you time to know the cop or the dog, because they just want to get you to Dogman. So while adults will be okay with watching it, I think kids are absolutely going to eat this thing up and have a great time with it. I did mention this already, but I really do appreciate how insane this movie gets, especially once we get towards the end, which involves a robotic fish voiced by Ricky Gervais, and this robotic fish has an army of some kind that, I'm not gonna lie, I did not see coming, so I dare not spoil it, but I will say, it is crazier than the whole idea of Dogman. Another thing I really appreciate though is that they actually stayed true to the character of Dogman from the books and kept him a silent character. They didn't get some big name celebrity to voice him and make some quippy remarks. The creators behind this movie knew what the young fans of the books wanted and stayed true to the source material. But on top of that, all the voice actors they did get to play all the speaking roles did a great job, and apparently fans are very happy with the results. I like Pete Davidson as Petey. Lil Rel Howery was perfect casting as the Chief. Isla Fisher, despite not giving anything funny to say or do, did a good job, and despite coming in very late into the movie, Ricky Gervais was pretty much Ricky Gervais playing the RoboFish. The animation was also really damn good and seems to stay as faithful to the books as possible. But I will admit, where Captain Underpants seemed to have a lot more fun with its animation, where it had the 3D animation, but also mixed in 2D animation, flip books, and even a whole scene in sock puppets, Dogman stays to the same style throughout the entire movie, aside from a few shots where there's like 2D backgrounds but like 3D characters in the foreground. But no matter what you think about this movie, I'm pretty sure everyone's gonna come out of it saying that it's very cute and has enough heart to make it work for what it is. Is this one of DreamWorks' best? Well, with it coming out after one of their all-time best, no. But I don't think it was intended to be. Dogman as a whole might be a little messy, but I think it gets the job done just right with a crazy as hell concept, good animation, great voice acting, and a nice little message that everyone can find some meaning in. If you have kids, especially ones who are fans of the book, then they'll have an absolute blast with this, and it'll be a fun time at the movies for the family. But if you're an adult who doesn't have kids, the only reason I would recommend this to you is if you love animation and have to see everything that DreamWorks releases. So in that case, give it a watch once it hits streaming, but hey, sometimes you never know with them. Sometimes they can release some of the greatest animated movies of all time, and other times they can release that. I think this is a very cute movie that has some funny bits, and while I'm glad that I watched it, I don't think this is one that I'll revisit anytime soon. But I am serious when I say this, the Captain Underpants movie is a definite must watch. I love that movie so much more than I ever expected. But as for Dogman, I'm going to give it a very generous B, but more of a family-friendly take the kids to see it B. Also, so some of you are not confused into thinking you walked into the wrong theater, there's a Bad Guys short before the movie, and it's a very short one, but a lot of people do not realize that there are still kids movies that have short films in front of them, and as the short film goes, it's cute. It's only like 5 minutes long. I got a laugh or two, but it's just kind of there. Oh my god, I just thought of something else involving Dogman. What about dog and human years? Those are different. So is the dog head gonna die before the human body? Dave Pilkey did not think this story through at all. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Subscribe to my channel, like this video, turn the notification bell, and while you're at it, go follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Letterboxd at Trev's Movies, and I'll be back later with more reviews, and I'll see you then. I had to do that. I really had to do that.